what didn't you like then in practice?
We had some good things in practice, but we did not have sustained focus. And then I think I felt like, as long as we've been out here, it's kind of time to elevate the expectation level. So we decided to elevate the expectation level. So, and you try to expand your arsenal as, the course of practice goes and the dimension of your team. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that was in the arsenal too, So anyway, and it went good. It seemed to have, enthusiasm and energy and all that. And then, and our hope is that we transfer all that to on the field.
I saw someone on Twitter asked you about rolling players. Do you know anything about the origin of that form of punishment when it started?
When I first heard about it, because you've conditioned them like crazy. And that just the conventional thing is sprints. Okay, run sprints. And there's two things I like about rules. Okay, the traditional thing is run sprints, and but you're trying to save their legs because you need their legs and the energy in their legs for tomorrow, the next day, the game, so it goes. And so I don't really want to, legs aren't really a resource that I'm interested in tapping. I want people either chasing the ball either direction, as far as the legs go. And then the other thing that I kind of like about it is, if you think about starting in grade school, and it doesn't matter really what sport or even PE, you start in grade school, the great big guys get screwed because the little skinny guys, they just stride it out, And then junior high, same thing happens. High school, same thing happens. And I even remember, and I actually used to kind of feel sorry for some of them, but regardless of the sport or whatever, you take off and run, and I was kind of a middle distance runner kind of guy, and all right, we got to run sprints. Well, I wasn't happy we had to run sprints. Believe me, I was not happy about it. But I went out there and I'd look around and I'd kind of handicap the field, try to gauge how many are we talking, how long is this going to last, and I'd go, and I'd make sure I stayed in the top quarter. I wasn't trying to win it because they're sprints after all, so I wasn't trying to win it really, but and after about 6 of them, and then you'd hear somebody cough or something. You go, oh, it's not going to be long now. I'm going to say 2 more. No, well, 3. Okay, and then all of a sudden, you'd hear the thing in the background as somebody's locked. All right, that's it. Well, it's always a big guy, and the big guys get totally screwed on the whole thing. But big guys can roll easier than little guys. Little guys hate it more than big guys, and so we're just trying to tip level the scale just a little bit where we can. So
you always done that dating back to Tech, or did you?
I tried to think where when you asked me, I was trying to think who came up with it, and I've thought of team after team that have burned legs with regard to just kind of post practice stuff, and and it's different between doing striders and other stuff, but and you'd see guys that were totally gassed, and you knew where some of it probably went, and then our receivers run a ton anyway. So, the long story short, we're trying to save the legs,
A lot of people are infatuated with the big receivers and your speedy receivers, and Robert Lewis is a guy that's a senior. He brings his lunch pail to work every day. Talk to us about the leadership that Robert's brought in this group.
Mainly good example in the weight room. Was for a period of time was the best blocker of all the receivers, and probably still is, but he's pretty well converted Renard Bell. He's converted Jameer Calvin, and then the great thing about a guy like Robert, a smaller guy, well, then you can really lean on those bigger guys. Well, this guy got this block, and what you didn't do anything. So all right, yeah, okay, he's tougher than you. All right, I got it. And you know, it's just a total case in point. You know, I mean, the big guy all of a sudden has nothing to complain about. Well, he did this. He went, yeah, but this little guy just, I mean, he handled his guy. You know, so you just constantly reinforce that.
How tough is it for a guy of his stature to block in your scheme?
I don't think it's very tough. I think everybody thinks bigger, stronger wins in blocks. The guy in the best position wins in blocks. You want to be the lowest and inside, and then Robert's quick enough to feel the point to where the guy's trying to go to shake the block off and beats him to the point. And I think that's one of the biggest misnomers on blocking is, you know, a bunch of explosive, overextended power and stuff like that. But the most important thing about blocking is controlling position, and from that standpoint, you know, guys like that can control position. Shorter guys can control position because the bigger guy can't ever get lower than you can. You know.
You talked about a lack of sustained focus. Is that a 2 weeks into camp kind of thing, or is that just...
I think it has more transitioning to a little bit different periods and scouts, but that doesn't change the fact that you don't raise the sense of urgency. You know.
You've got 3 running backs coming back, obviously. Did it last year, obviously. Keith with them as well. What do you see from them in terms of chemistry?
They get along really well. They can do some stuff differently. You know, James is really explosive. Jamal can do the most things, and then you know, Keith's kind of a happy medium there. You know.
Robert Valencia wasn't out there today. Is he still good standing?
Yeah, no, he's fine. He's doing exactly what we want.
Are you excited for the eclipse?
You know, I run across an article or news or something. My son's really excited about it. He's actually talking about driving to Portland to see it, and he's really into all that science stuff. And I guess, what's the deal? This is supposed to be a super one or an extra special one. So why? What's the difference?
I'm really excited about it. I was hoping you would know.
Well, I've seen other eclipses, and I've actually stumbled on some. A couple of years ago, I'm walking up the hill, and I feel like it's getting darker. I'm thinking, well, it's cloudy, and then I notice, you know, the moon's starting to get different, and I actually walked in the house. I actually walked in, you know, because, you know, as I see it, it's starting to drift that way, and I'm getting a little less moon. I get to the house, and it's about 2/3 of the way there, and I tell everybody there's an eclipse. Well, how do you know? And I'm just telling you there's an eclipse. Well, so then Google whatever, you know, eclipse over these skies in this part of the anyway. So there we go.
So you discovered one.
I did. I mean, obviously they publicized it, but I happened to notice just as I was sitting there walking in it, and I've seen one or two. It used to be a big deal, you know. In grade school, we'd make stuff out of paper. I never quite understood it, but you know, make a little, you know, and do all the stuff. And we were really impressed. And then we'd go home and thought we knew something.